Let's try this. 3, 2, 1.
I blink when it goes, so I'm not sure if.
I don't know, I'm timing you. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. And then it's a little bit of just one. Where's the hand with the ring?
Both of them have a ring, so I just don't know where we go.
Yeah, like that.
Wait, I'm sorry. Director, you is funny because now I'm just like, hand with the ring.
Yeah, that one. 3, 2, 1.
I blinked right.
You did. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Now close your eyes. Have happy dreams. Perfect. That was good. So, can you tell people like what exactly is a counseling psychologist? Because we know clinical, we know educational, and don't they all counsel people?
I mean, we do all counsel people.
Yeah.
I guess the difference would be the settings that we sometimes all work in. Trying to not focus too much on like comparing the three.
Okay.
But a counseling psychologist can do exactly that. Counsel people, so that would be either individual therapy, group therapy, family therapy, couples counseling. We work with children, adolescents, teens, adults. So I can work with almost anyone.
Yeah.
The beauty of being a counseling psychologist is that it does kind of feel like a bit of a chameleon, because I can do a bit of everything. Assessments, if that's where I have an interest in, or therapy. I really love working with people, so there's that. And then there's the non-mainstream type of stuff, which is reaching a bigger audience through what we call psychoeducation or advocacy work.
Okay.
So there it's things like campaigns, community engagement, workshops, presentations, trainings for organizations or institutions or corporate even. So really, as a counseling psychologist, that's a bit of what I do. I think the biggest differentiator between clin counseling and ed is what is now done away with, which was called the scope of practice, which is basically, as a counseling psychologist, you could see between mild as well as moderate, what's this called? Pathologies, cases, yes. What's it called? Diagnoses, as well. And then the clins will see even the more severe. But chances are, even if someone is dealing with something that's more severe and is diagnosed and is called a disorder of sorts, you are, what can I say? Even in the case where you're working with someone who is going through more severe life challenges or mental health illnesses and all of that, they're working with other people, other healthcare practitioners. So as a counseling psychologist, you're probably coming in to focus on the more psychosocial, emotional well-being. And basically, I think my approach is more around not focusing so much on what's wrong with the person, but just the person. Which is why sometimes the labeling is a bit problematic, because it's so easy to focus on making that thing the person's identity and forgetting to see the person who is someone that exists in community, family, friends, different spaces, has their own strengths. I mean, they've made it this far, haven't they? And it's not always the case that you're seeing people who are I'm really like going through something that is medically diagnosed. Sometimes it's just day-to-day life things, transitions, figuring yourself out as a person. So it doesn't always have to be something must really be wrong with me to see a psychologist.
More just be more square, and then a little bit of just L shape, just playing around, maybe, which is your more comfortable side.
I'm right-handed, so this feels...
Does that feel? Okay, cool. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, that's cool. 3, 2, 1. Lovely.
Let's see. Does this hand work? No, it just feels weird. But let's see.
3, 2, 1. what I actually liked is when you were looking down, when your hair was like that. Yeah. 3, 2, 1. And then maybe look a little bit more this way. Yeah, as if you're thinking of someone else.
I might just see.
Who shall not be named.
No, I'm not thinking of someone.
Oh, not a someone.
No, I'm thinking about my life.
Cool, I like that. Okay, then maybe clarify this thing for us. Can psychologists read people's minds?
It's our little superpower. So my biggest icebreaker when people ask me what I do is that I'm a professional mind reader, because that's what people think you're doing. I don't think it's mind reading. It's nothing like I'm looking into this oracle crystal ball, and it works a lot with what the person is actually doing in front of you, saying in front of you. And I say doing because it's not always what a person is doing that will tell you what might be going on. I think it probably feels like mind reading because while the person is speaking, you're doing a lot of processing. We're trained to know how to pull out themes, patterns, and see things. So, and this becomes quite interesting because while you're here, I'm already probably thinking like 10 steps ahead or like 10 steps before that, figuring out what to ask you next, figuring out how to piece everything together, which is all the magic that's happening in the back end of my head, which you're not seeing. And so by the time I say something back to you, it's almost like, oh my gosh, like you get me. And that is probably what feels more like mind reading. But really, it's working with what the person brings into the room. Because people are really the experts on their own lives. They live their own lives on a daily. So when they bring things in, you work with that.
What do you say to people who say your job is easy because all you do is talk?
It is the hardest job. Because no, you don't just talk. Like I said, there's so much in the silences. And what is unsaid as well. But besides that kind of communication, there's a lot of processing. I don't get to shut off the laptop. I am the laptop. I don't get to close the textbook. I am the textbook. I am the tool as a therapist, right? Which also means that knock-off time does not necessarily mean my brain has shut off, does not necessarily mean I've stopped thinking about the people I work with. There's also a lot of emotional work. I think a good therapist is one who is able to be in touch with their own intuition and emotions, because you get senses about the person in the room. So your entire body, your entire being is at work. This work is actually probably, and not to undermine other professions, but it's more tiring than just the physical stuff, because all of you is engaging with this other person's life, and you carry that sometimes. So it's not just all we do is talk.
Actually, maybe without the shirt, well, actually also without your jacket, I think this in black and white will look cute.
Can I give this to you? You can just throw it over that chair. Ooh, that is nice.
Yeah, so we want to just try that kind of a look.
What is she doing?
Brian, which one? Let's call her a model. 3, 2, 1. Love.
She's a model, no?
Sure, we can call her a model.
Okay.
Why
is this so hard?
3, 2, 1, love it. Yeah, it is hard because you feel weird in the beginning until you don't. 3, 2, 1.
Can you believe this is the same person who thought, let's do Miss Issy?
Hey,
okay, let me lean on this chair.
Okay, tell us what are common funny myths about psychologists that are not true?
Myths about psychology. It's definitely the mind reading one.
Yeah.
It's the we work with crazy people.
Okay. So you don't?
I would not call them crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, I think people just are going through difficulties, which when something is not a norm for you or not a challenge you faced, it seems so foreign that it seems crazy to us, right? That psychologists have their own lives very put together and figured out, but we're not allowed to be emotional and messy in our own ways sometimes. Doctors don't do open heart surgery on themselves, do they?
Sure.
So why do we expect psychologists to not have emotions when it comes to their own lives?
What did you think of psychologists before you became one?
I didn't think about psychologists before I became one.
What does that
Younger
mean?
me didn't think about psychologists before I became one, mainly because I wasn't exposed to what psychology is. I was mainly exposed to like social workers as being those people who come and take children away from their homes, and I was just like, hey, no thanks. But I was always told you'd be a great person in that sort of field.
Okay.
So my thinking about psychologists, when I started knowing about what a psychologist did, was these are superheroes, man. Like, I also thought, like, mind reader. Like, what do you mean? You get to listen to me and help me make sense of all of these thoughts and emotions.
Yeah.
So I think my exposure to psychology happened at a time when I also did need it, so it didn't feel like taboo.
Okay.
It just felt weird because, like I said, I wasn't exposed to it before. Also, I talk a lot, so I've never had a problem talking.
Sure.
I think a lot too. I feel a lot.
Yeah.
So I think the one thing that was strange for me was, if I already do this all by myself, why do I need to go speak to someone else? Like, what do you mean I need to go and sit and talk to this person, and in maybe 45 to 50 minutes, we're going to figure this out? So that for me was just like, I'm not paying somebody to go talk when I'm a yapper already. But I've noticed and I've come to learn that there's technique, and they bring guidance and structure and ask questions that help you think in a very different way to how you would think when you're with friends or family. It really, being in my own therapy really like unraveled me initially, because I was just like, what? It's like someone coming into your home unannounced, and they're seeing all of these things that you didn't neatly pack away, even though you thought you had neatly packed them away. Or even if you're prepared that this person's coming into your house, right? Because you invited them in. But like sometimes they go into rooms where you thought, no, there's nothing to see behind that door. And they're like, nah, they go in. And sometimes you open doors and you're thinking, okay, we're going to work through everything. But time, sometimes in space, doesn't allow for that. And I think I've had really great psychologists who have kind of also left certain things for me to go figure it out. So it's also this idea of, I had to realize that, oh, these people are not trying to fix me or anything, but like, let's try and navigate this and help you figure it out for yourself.
So let's do some standing ones. So what you're gonna do now, we're gonna play around on this wall. So stuff like this, where you just chilled, and a little bit of angle, a little bit looking front. So yeah, just play around with the wall. The wall is your prop now.
Okay.
The wall is your prop.
This is making me realize how I'm still working on being like a more flexible person. Like especially when I'm talking about my profession, there's just this. Everything is like
Proper.
It's neatly put together, even though it's not really. So this is us.
This is us. Yeah.
And I'm trying to not like do weird things like pull out my tongue.
Why?
Because it's just like, dude, like, you're a psychologist now. People take you seriously.
Yes.
But in actual fact, the people who know me know that, like, I am really just a goofball.
A goofball psychologist.
See, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, it's not bad. Whatever just feels made sure. So tell everyone why you wanted to be Miss South Africa.
People still call me Miss SA, and I love it for me.
So does that mean you're not gonna do Miss South Africa again?
I want to answer you, but I'm so focused on this shot.
Alright, that's fine. Do that. These are cute.
Wait, earring.
There you go. Cool. Okay, answer the question.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because again, I don't think I necessarily want to be a Miss South Africa idol in that sense. I do think the chance I took gave me what I needed then. You know when people say I don't believe in psychologists?
Yeah.
I'm like, we're not a belief.
We're not a belief system.
Yeah, we're not like fairies and mythical creatures where you choose if you believe or not.
So you say you exist,
yeah.
Go on to me, cool.
Oh, and we did that at the ball. That was cool. I like those shots. Yeah, we're there. We exist. It's either you want to give it a try or not. Also is actually more kind to me, and that leads to someone who wasn't even in my profession leading me to someone who is, and that ultimately leads me to, before there was so many confusion, and remember me being overwhelmed by options and not knowing which choice would be the right choice, I felt like it was a God-ordained thing that I wasn't sitting with many choices for masters, because the one part of me that would have been still like prideful would have thought, let's try Clin again. Yeah. Even though deep down... I
had better answers this time.
Yeah. But even though deep down, from the experiences I had had in that year, from the last time I had done my interviews, it became more and more proven that I would make a good fit for a counseling psych stream. I looked at the program and what they offered, and there was